I've got just 20 minutes with you, and I'm eager to hear what's on your mind. So let me give you a quick update and then see if you have any questions, and then we'll go off to the next thing. My favorite experience of the school year thus far was sleeping on the floor of the Miami airport with 8 Millbrook students. We were on our way back from a week of service work in Guatemala City with the poorest children there, those whose families provide for their children from what they scavenge from the city dump every day. This was our 11th consecutive year of making this trip. Most of the students on the trip were veterans, and we left Guatemala City. And I should add that these students basically end up having about 3 days of spring break, because they spend 1 week in Guatemala City and then they spend another week at preseason lacrosse. So it's a pretty significant commitment for high school 5th and 6th formers. And we spend our time in the dump neighborhood. And I've been in the dump a fair amount of time, and it literally is hell on earth. So these students did some remarkable things for the week, and we get out of Guatemala on time, and we get to Miami Airport, and it's a disaster at immigration. And we're in line to wait in line, and it takes 3 hours, and it's clear we're going to miss our flight. Kids have gotten separated. One group's over there, one group's over there. Liz Morrison had to leave early, and it's just me and 5 students, and the other 3 are off on their own. Thank goodness for technology. Long story short, we get through, and then we think that we know we're missing the flight. We think we're going to finally get into the airport through security, and they say, no, you can't do that until midnight. There aren't any carpets on the floors out before you get into security. So we hunkered down and had a good time and then slept. And there wasn't a complaint. There wasn't any panic. There weren't any problems, except actually when Tommy Coleman woke up. And Tommy Coleman's about 6'2". I don't know how he got his body comfortable on that floor. And he went to put his hands in his pockets as he walked to Starbucks, and he kept trying to go like this, and then he realized his sweatpants were on backwards. So I think for me, that moment, the students' dedication, the students' resilience, the students' willingness to deal with what was going to happen to whatever was going to happen to them, really speaks volumes about the state of the school. That's my task today, is to update you on the state of the school, and I think that's the best example I can give you. Some numbers about the state of the school. Our applications were up to a record high of over 650 applications. Our accept rate was down to 38%. Our yield was up to 50%, and the school is full. So it was a terrific admission season for the school, and many of you contributed to that and helped with that. Another number that I'm very proud of is that for the last many years, 5, 6, thanks to the leadership of Barbara Gatsky and your generosity and support, more than 90% of Millbrook parents have contributed to the annual fund. That is unheard of in boarding schools. Day schools are different. All the parents are more or less in the same place. The annual fund this year is steaming towards its $2.2 million goal. Many of you have already contributed, and to you I give my heartfelt thanks. To those who haven't and are thinking about it, I also want to thank you in advance for considering that. It means the world to the school. The annual fund supports every aspect of what we do with our students. Its importance is central, and every bit helps, and percentage is critically important. I explained to your children about 2 weeks ago in assembly that this year our faculty turnover is going to be greater than usual. That means 10 or 11 of our colleagues are going to move on. It's always a hard time for the students. Some understandably feel abandoned when that happens. What I explained to them, though, is for all of us who live life among the adolescents, this is a lifestyle choice. It is a life choice, not a job. And people move for a variety of reasons. I'm especially proud that some of our colleagues are moving on to greater responsibility. Liz Morrison will be the 4th member of the faculty to go on to be a school head. She's going to the Antilles School in Virgin Islands. She's finally getting her wish. Liz hates the cold. So she's moving on to be a head of school. Vince Vincent came to us just a year and 2/3 ago thinking he would be a part-time music teacher, vocal music teacher, and that he would continue with his professional career in opera. Based on his time with Millbrook, he's decided that he wants to be a school leader and has been given the opportunity to be an assistant head and dean of students. Again, I consider that a real triumph for us, as sad as we are to see Vince go. Thanks to Kathy Havard's leadership, we're deep into the hiring process. We've already hired a number of very experienced people, which is our goal. So that's all going very well. And we'll give you a full report as we get closer to the completion. I assure you, those of you who have children whose advisors are leaving, we will engage with them in a very deliberate process to help them find suitable advisors. So, another number, or at least a statement. The dining hall is on budget. And it's, yeah, that's a good thing. And it's ahead of schedule. And for those of you who are interested, you can have a tour of it this afternoon at 1 o'clock. You, not your children. Do not let your children sneak in with you. They'll have their time later. And I thought I would show you just a little bit of what's going to happen there so you can envision it when you're there. So the building of the dining hall is actually part of what we're calling the North Campus Development Plan. To get a sense of that, think west, what the west end of the campus looks like and how the building of that dorm and the amphitheater there has really transformed what was sort of an area that just bled off into the woods. So this is what Prum Hall will look like at the start of school. All of this is the new dining hall complex. And one of the things I'm proud, I mean, look at this and look at that. And one of the things, if those of you who are familiar with the campus will know, we've worked very hard to build to scale and not to change the 2 original quadrangles. When you stand here, the only thing you can see of this massive facility is the cupola right here. So yet again, we have hidden a very big volume behind these somewhat delicate original buildings. So in June, this will all be done. And that's important because the minute this is done, we can begin to demolish everything along the north side here. So probably by June of 17, this courtyard will be finished. The plantings will be in place. By September of 16, this will be in place and this entire facility will be done and ready to go. It's a 380-seat facility most days, but there are 38 tables with 10 seats. We can add 2 seats to each table so it could go to 450 if we need to. We will have seated lunch there on Tuesdays, formal dinner following chapel on Thursdays. Then we move north, and this very thoughtfully designed area is the Millbrook School Farm. And one of the challenges is we have to have it close enough to the campus so kids can get there for community service. Remember, they go there 4 times a week during the day. So here we have the hoop house, which has been cut in half and put on 2 rails, so that will continue. Here we have raised bed gardens and fruit trees, and then this is where the land will be cultivated for the farm, and that'll probably happen, I would guess, the spring of 17, because we have to then move to the next project and get that done. These will be the first ever dedicated maintenance facilities in Millbrook school history. Our poor maintenance staff has worked out of whatever was left over since 1931 when the school was founded. Ben Day, our Director of Physical Plan, is standing right up there. Ben, we're going to begin construction on this in June?
About a month and a half, yes.
Month and a half. And so we have to complete all of this in order to then cultivate this land. And then all of this is carefully designed parking. So all but visitors parking will now move off the core campus and residents parking in key areas. So, and then here's the floor plan for the dining hall. So you can see the 38 tables, the huge servery, which the students said has to feel like Whole Foods. And it does. I actually took one of the students on the planning committee into there the other day, and she said, yep, just like we wanted it. That's a pizza oven. Kids are really excited about that. All the kitchens here, carefully designed again, so food from the farm and the gardens can come right in, and this is a prep area. This is currently the east door from, you walk in and you walk right into a bookcase, and you go in the dining hall this way. That'll be torn out, and then the hallway will continue all the way into the new dining hall. This is designed and built to the highest environmental standards, heated and cooled by geothermal wells. How many, Ben? 16 geothermal wells, tremendous daylighting, very little need for lighting. So this is the north end of Prum, the connector I just walked you down, the dining hall, all built to scale, all very thoughtfully designed, great big spaces that don't look like that in order to fit with a campus that is quite traditional and, as I said earlier, delicate. Okay. Not sure if I point at you. Sorry. There we go. So obviously this is the interior. The artist didn't know Julia May, a fifth former, but he painted her right there. I mean, Olivia May, that's Julia May. He didn't know her either. I hope you'll all have a chance to see what it will look like. It's very exciting. It's going to be a transformational facility for the school. So that's a quick update. Any questions, comments? Come on, don't let me off the hook that easily. It does look beautiful, and it is beautiful, and it will be.
Yeah, Drew, there's no farm currently working here, is that correct? What would be growing there?
No, there is actually. The hoop house, there's actually a very active garden community service. So if you remember, all of our third formers are divided into groups of 3, and then they spend a season at the zoo, a season in recycling, and a season in the garden. There's a hoop house now that functions year-round. There are some raised beds, and then there's a group that works there in the afternoons. So there will be varsity farming when all this is done.
So you said there'll also be the root cellar?
There used to be a root cellar, and then sadly we found that it was contaminated, so it had to be cleaned out and excavated as part of the site work.
It'll be composted too, right?
Yep, absolutely. The new dish room, as you'll see, is built for composting. Yep, Dan?
Do any plans to go beyond sort of cultivated plants and into animal husbandry, or at least engage with the local farms that do that?
There is. The challenge for this, for the farm, will be that it'll operate year-round. So besides staff, who's going to be there in the summer? Now, we solved that problem at the zoo quite successfully with a robust summer intern program. And there are local farms, including our neighbors at Hotchkiss, who we have a very good relationship with. So this could be a coordinated effort, absolutely. We probably would have a hard time having livestock on campus, but as you know well, there are places all around us, and we could work with them. I know there's a group lobbying me hard for chickens.
Less about raising them and more about connecting the students to sort of animal welfare and where their food comes from, and
Yep.
it actually has feet and eyes.
Absolutely. And already things are coming into the dining hall from the garden. Kale, we're long on kale. Sprouts, we did very well with Sprouts this year, and it's great. The pride that the students who grew the food have is terrific, and that's why I pointed, there's an area where we hope students can come in and do some food prep. Obviously, they're not going to be cooking, or at least I don't think so at this time, but food prep, and then it'll be beautifully displayed so people know what's happening. You'll also see that it's designed so literally you sit down in the dining hall and you look right out at the farm. So the connection is clear. It's based on Stone Barns and the restaurant Blue Hills there, and a Stone Barns intern designed all this. So in terms of what's going to be grown, leafy greens, probably some fruits, root vegetables, things that are absolutely positively seasonal. Yep.
All of the kids were pretty impacted by the death of the teacher earlier this
Yep.
year. Would you just give us sort of your thoughts on how the community is dealing with that? I know everyone sort of grieves differently. Could you just comment on that?
Really glad, and that was in my notes, so I'm glad you asked, because I wanted to give you all a brief update. It's hard, and for most of the with students, with high school age students, the first loved one they lose is a pet often, and then a grandparent, and so they learn through this process to have a 32-year-old faculty member pass and to have it be done so tragically and unexpectedly was really hard. We mobilized the community in a variety of ways, including parents who are still coming to campus to help with dorm duty from time to time so that there's a little release time for faculty. Our Director of Counseling, Ann Matthews, has been working with our consulting psychologist on some programs for faculty and for students. I think we are dealing in ways that have to be dealt with. Kids are resilient, adults are resilient, and we've been working with the Allen family, the Egan family, to find suitable ways to remember and honor Ed. So I think we're okay. A quick update on Emily. So the oldest child is Cody. She's 4 and she's physically fine. And well, I should say that Emily and the girls are moving back to Millbrook School, so that may happen actually within a week to 10 days. And Emily won't start work, but she will just come back and set up at home. She and I are trying to connect by phone to decide on that. Cody will go to Dutchess Day School in the fall, and so that's great with her best buddy Atticus Downs, so that's good. Tatum is, as you know, had severe head trauma, but is making progress beyond what the doctor said is benchmarks and milestones, and she's out of any sort of hospital. She's living at home, and they go to Blythedale each day for therapy and for her rehabilitation, so that process is ongoing. And then Avery is a healthy baby girl, and probably now, Aaron and John aren't here, but probably a month old, I would guess. Lynn and I met her on Easter. So, they're moving forward as a family. Emily will, as I said, will move back to Abbott, and Emily will work part-time in admissions and be the dorm head. So she's easing back in. Again, thank you. I had meant to mention that. It's important to keep people up to date. Thank you, Betty. One last question. Yes, John.
Drew, I know the farm has been in planning for years, but it ties in nicely with this new interest by colleges in community service.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us a little bit how this dovetails in with that interest?
Very well, and it dovetails with an overall initiative. So Millbrook School has had community service since 1931. Edward Pulling was truly a visionary educator who believed the only way to teach responsibility was to give students real responsibility and then have them held accountable by their peers when those responsibilities didn't work. And he also was an environmentalist long before anyone even used that term. Hence the zoo. mean, the zoo, 35,000 people visit the zoo every year, but that's not why it's here. It's the best way to teach students real responsibility and have students hold their peers accountable when it doesn't work. So the community service program then expanded to all the things on campus, and the farm was part of that. Again, real responsibility, logical consequences. And it's probably the newest evolution in a larger school, because of course we had to come up with more meaningful services for a student body that's grown over the last 10 years from 200 to 300. And so this is in that way. The next big initiative, and the trip to Guatemala that I spoke of earlier, is what we call service learning, which is serving the greater community outside of the school. And students are developing ideas, so the prominent examples there and the curricular examples there are the trip to Guatemala, this summer's trip to India, and then this summer's trip to Cambodia, where we will work using connections that the school has with places there to expand that program to outside of our community. And then, of course, that all links into kids' college applications and their essays and the ways they present themselves here. And it's truly unique to Millbrook because it is absolutely woven into the fabric of the institution every day.